Hey there everybody, I'm Elizabeth Hines from Total Wellness Health Coaching. If you're brand new to my kitchen, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I teach you how to cook in a way that aligns with good health, which for us is primarily about keeping autoimmune disease at bay, healing from autoimmune disease. We usually do paleo recipes, which are grain-free, dairy-free, sometimes just gluten-free, but I'll never make anything with gluten, and I do use a decent amount of dairy these days, but we usually keep things paleo around here. If you're old here, then you may know my channel as Our Paleo Family. I started that blog back in 2015 as a way of sharing recipes and just kind of a journey to health from sickness. And so if you see if you like this video and you go search for other videos from me, you'll probably find them under Our Paleo Family. That kind of transitioned into a membership group called the Autoimmune Free Cooking Club. I became a functional medicine health coach so I could really help people more with their health journeys and still teach them how to cook good tasting food, because that is really a huge piece of being healthy. And so you might find me under Our Paleo Family, Autoimmune Free Cooking Club. I did some sort of playing around with words that were trending, honestly, just being forthright about the way this whole internet social media thing works, and I ended up changing the name of my channel to Functional Medicine Living. I thought that better represented what I was talking about here. And you know, things change, people change, life changes, and the Autoimmune Free Cooking Club membership has ended. And to protect that content for my paid members, I'm not going to continue to post recipes there. So the recipes I'm going to make on these videos going forward from June of 2021, the recipes will all be listed in the notes section. And if you want a nice, easily printable version, you can go to my health coaching website, which I'll link it down below. That's totalwellnesshealthcoaching.com. And there will be a recipe section there where you can, you know, like all recipe blogs, have a little click the printer button and prints it out in a nice format for you. So you can find the recipes here in the notes. You can find the recipes on totalwellnesshealthcoaching.com. If you see some old videos and you want those recipes and they're not listed with the video, they may be under the paywall of that membership. And I'm not going to change that because I have those members paying me for a couple of years, and so that will remain protected content. But you're free to watch the video and take notes. I tell you exactly what to do, amounts and everything, so you just have to work a little bit harder for it. So that preamble aside, I've been away from making videos for a little while. Life just got busy, and my teaching job took over. My teaching job was taking more of my time, and I've missed interacting with all of you, and I've missed sharing recipes with you. And so this summer, when teaching is on hiatus and I have a little bit more time, I'm going to do some more videos for you. So today, this summer, we're going to make paleo graham crackers, which are amazing for many reasons. You need them for your camping trips, right? Lots of people are camping with, COVID has changed the way we do vacations. People who've never camped before are camping. And so you gotta have s'mores, and you can find gluten-free graham crackers on the market, and they are okay. They're not great. Most of them are really crumbly, and they're not grain-free. They're just gluten-free and are pretty sweet. And so I created my own grain-free version that is not super sweet, and so they're great for s'mores, because what do you put in s'mores? Marshmallows and chocolate, which are both super, super sweet. So I think these are perfect for that application. You can use them to make ice cream sandwiches. We're going to cut ours into squares, that's the traditional s'more shape, But if you want to do ice cream sandwiches, you could do squares, rectangles, circles, whatever. I like these actually for maybe you've heard of like a digestive biscuit. If your stomach's a little upset and you want something to kind of settle your tummy, these are great for that. They last a super long time. They will last in your freezer basically forever, but they'll even last at room temperature, or certainly in the fridge or your camping cooler, for many, many, many days without molding or anything like that. So they really hold up well. They're pretty easy to make. They're just a couple little steps. So I thought it would be a good recipe to show you. Oh, and come back next week, because we're going to be using these graham crackers to make a graham cracker crust for a frozen chocolate pie. Yes, you heard me correctly. And I'm going to film it as soon as I finish this. So I have stuff cooking away on the stove for that pie. So I'm really going to make it, and I'm really going to show it to you. And it's really, really good. So definitely come back for that. So let's get started with our graham crackers. It's just a very few simple ingredients. But before we start cooking, we've got to get everything ready. So my oven just beeped. It's at 325 degrees. And I've got 2 sheet pans. You know what? I just want to say, this is sort of an apology and a disclaimer all in one. We just finished a trip where we traveled across the country. So we live in North Carolina. We visited a lot of the national parks. We were at very high elevations for a lot of the time. And when we travel, we cook absolutely as much as we can, because that's how, especially me, with a digestive disorder, autoimmune disease, that's how I feel the best, when I'm in control of what I'm eating. And so anyway, we did a lot of, like, if we were in a house or a rental, or even a campground for that matter, I would boil a bunch of eggs so that when we had a day at a hotel, or, you know, just an early morning, we didn't have time to cook something, we'd have hard-boiled eggs. And so I was super in tune to altitude and how that affects cooking. And even, like, when we were in a rental, we had spaghetti one night. I don't know, I was making something in the oven. It takes a lot longer for the oven to heat up. It took a lot longer for the pasta to boil. It took a lot longer for the eggs to cook. So I basically am living at sea level. And so if you are living at altitude, I will trust you to simply know how to adjust for altitude. But it's something that honestly was not on my radar before, and it is now. So like I said, kind of an apology and a disclaimer, but I trust you to know how to cook at your altitude. But it was something that I certainly learned while on my trip. So 325, get your oven heated up. These are, I wanted to show you these because I love this product. These are the If You Care brand unbleached parchment sheets. And yes, they're more expensive. This is not the most economical way to go, but I really like the unbleached parchment paper for lining my pans. Makes nothing stick and makes life way easier. And the sheets are just, mine are so old, so they're just stained, but yours might be nice and pretty and shiny and silver. But this is a half sheet pan or jelly roll pan, 15 by 11. That's about what it is. And they're just the right length. They're a little bit too wide, so I end up kind of folding them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up rolling my dough out on these. So I'm just fitting them in and kind of marking that crease. And then I'm going to pull these back because I'm going to use them. So that's how I have gotten everything ready. My oven is on. I've got to go stir my coconut milk. I'll be right back. There's no coconut milk in this recipe, but that's for the pie. So we just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ingredients. We need 1.5 cups of almond flour. I'm sorry, 2.5. So I'm going to not talk and count. Okay. 2.5 cups of almond flour. I really like this. Is Costco's version, and it's really good. If you don't have a Costco or you don't have a Costco membership, I recommend Welby's brand. I can link it below, and you can buy directly from Welby's, or if you have Amazon where you live, I don't know where there isn't Amazon, but I'm sure there's someplace, you can order Welby's directly through Amazon, and it is a very good price, and it's very, very high quality. So 2.5 cups of almond flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm using pink Himalayan sea salt. I don't want my egg to roll away. We need a teaspoon of baking powder. This is not the baking powder that's in this can. I have an aluminum-free baking powder that I ordered from Thrive Market, which again, I can link that below. A teaspoon of cinnamon. They don't have an overwhelming cinnamon flavor. There's just kind of like an essence of cinnamon, which if you pull out, or if you remember, if you have been eating gluten-free for a while, if you remember your gluten-eating days, your Honey Made Grahams, or those just regular brands from the grocery store, they have a slight cinnamony taste. So a little bit of cinnamon is really good. And if you hate cinnamon, whatever, leave it out. It won't affect the recipe in any way. It's Just the flavor is really good. And if you're using these for something with chocolate, like s'mores, or what we're going to do with our chocolate, frozen chocolate pie, chocolate and cinnamon go really, really nicely together. Okay, so our sweetener for all this almond flour is just 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. And we have 1 egg. Let's see, what am I going to do? This is room temperature. My egg is cold, and so I don't want it to make my coconut oil seize up. So actually, I'm going to put my coconut oil in here first. It doesn't super matter. I'm going to crack my egg and mix it in to my maple syrup. I just like to get my dirty stuff out of the way so it's neater. Just kind of mix that in. I'm just looking at my recipe here and making sure I'm following it correctly. So again, that was the maple syrup and the egg. I want to actually switch to this larger spatula. It's just easier for me to work with. So this dough is a thicker dough, and it will be a little bit harder to mix. You can use, you could do this in a stand mixer. You could use a hand mixer if you want. I just hardly ever get my mixer out anymore. I just pretend it's an arm workout. But also, I'm not afraid to get my hands in there. Just keep your hands really clean. If you have kids that like Play-Doh or that sort of thing, they would be awesome helpers for a recipe like this. So once I have everything pretty much mixed together, I am going to clean off my spatula, and I'm just going to use my hands, because then I really am getting it mixed together well. This is a really nice dough, actually. It's pretty easy to work with. And it will come together really nicely. You just want to make sure you have all your dry and all your liquid mixed in together and in this nice cohesive dough. And usually with paleo baking, you can substitute a lot of different things. I haven't actually tried this one with different flours, like if you are allergic to tree nuts and want to try some of the other paleo baking flours. I haven't tried it, but I have tried other fats, and the coconut oil works the best. You can try palm shortening or avocado oil, ghee, but really the coconut oil makes the best texture in the finished product and in the dough as we're working with it. So I took my piece of parchment that you saw me get ready earlier, and I'm using my hand, as you can see, to start to press it out. It just helps me. My hand's already in the dough, so this is not hurting anything. Just go ahead and use my hands to kind of get it in roughly the shape that I want. Now I'm going to wash them and show you how I finish rolling it out. Okay, so you need your rolling pin. I'm just going to use this little silicone one. Put your other piece of parchment on top and start rolling. And you want to roughly make a rectangle. My hands are still a little bit wet. I'm going to need this, so my hands are really clean. I want to get that out. This is a bench scraper. I can link that below. All the tools that I use that are still available, I'll link in the notes section for you. Try to get it an even thickness, but if it's not exactly even, it's okay. It's just food. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not manufacturing these where somebody's going to open a box and every single cracker has to be exactly the same size, exactly the same thickness. This is for you and your family or your friends, your neighbors to enjoy. And so don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. Don't not make these or make anything because you feel like you can't make it perfectly. That's silly. So it's going to end up filling up almost your whole piece of parchment. I want mine between 1/4 and 1/8 of an inch thick. They're these are crispier crackers, sturdy. Sturdy doesn't sound very nice for a kind of food, but they are. They're pretty sturdy, which you want. You don't want them to crumble. That's one of my beefs with a lot of gluten-free baked things, is that they just absolutely crumble into nothing when you take a bite. And so these do not do that. So you don't want to get them too thin, or they would be more likely to crumble. But you don't want them too thick either, because they are sturdier, then they might be harder to eat. So I'm going to keep rolling till I just sense in my being that it is just right. And then I will take the parchment off and check it out. And more likely than not, it's going to be a-okay. So you see I'm feeling it. It's a little thicker around the edge. I can pick up my parchment and kind of peek and see how I'm doing. But just know that you're going to be rolling it out about to the size of your piece of parchment. You know what? That's enough. Okay, so my sheet over here, this just peels right off, and then it becomes my lining for my baking pan. And again, I want to fold this over and actually fold it, tuck it under, because in the oven those little flaps tend to roll up and can kind of come into your baked good. So just take a knife. Sometimes I use my bench scraper to do my cutting, but it's just a little bit easier to do it with a knife. A little smoother. You could use those rolling pizza cutters. So again, I'm not measuring. If you are a perfectionist and it would bother you, if you made a s'more and the top cracker was not exactly the same size as the bottom cracker, then by all means, measure. But I'm not that person. Some people say that I'm a perfectionist, but I'm really not. But I do try to make them roughly square. Oops. Okay, so then I use my bench scraper. So first of all, here are the little scraps. I'm going to make a pile of those. So this one, I want you to see how nice this dough is. It's all the ingredients together, but really that coconut oil makes a big difference. How it's not fragile even when it's raw. But see, that corner was a little thin and it wasn't full size, so I'm just going to not use that one. I'll roll it up. So I'm going to make sure you can see this in the overhead camera. These are not going to spread a ton in the oven, so you don't have to really space them out like you might with a regular kind of cookie, but they will spread some, so you want to space them out just a little bit. I'm really not even using my bench scraper. I forgot how nice this dough was to work with. Now I'm actually going to cheat just a little bit. Not cheat, but I'm going to make my life a little bit easier. Because I am going to be making a pie crust and I'm crunching them up anyway, normally what I would do is take all these scraps and I would roll them out just like you watched me do. I already sort of scrunched these together. I gotta undo that. I am not going to roll them all up and roll them out again, because I'm just going to be crushing them. You know what I mean? To make my pie crust. Did I make any sense at all? This is going to be just fine. And this one that I did actually smushed together. Let me just roll it back out so it's the right thickness. If it's too thick or too thin, then it will bake really unevenly from the rest of my crackers, which will just be a pain for me to have to monitor that in the oven. Some of these little edge pieces are a good deal thinner than my main crackers, but I'll just keep an eye on them. And you actually bake these for, I think, 15 minutes. 15 minutes, yeah. And then you flip them over and bake for a few more minutes. So when I pull them out to flip them over, I can, if some are, like some of these littler, thinner pieces are done, I can just take them out at that time. Okay, I hope that made sense. So what do all the graham crackers have? They have those little holes on top, right? So I just take a fork and make 2 rows of little holes. So one, this makes them look like authentic graham crackers. But 2, it helps the dough to not puff up, because you want them to be, you don't want them to be puffy, you want them to be flat. So this helps with that. Okay, I forgot to prick my extra pieces. I want to do that to them too. So like I said, 325. These are going to go in the oven for 15 minutes. I'm going to pull them out and flip them over. It just helps them brown evenly. This looks like the state of Virginia. Okay, I'll see you back here in a few minutes. Okay, so 15 minutes in the oven. As promised, these little thinner scraps are, some of these are done. So I'm going to take those out because I just don't want them to burn. And the others, I'm going to put back in for 5 more minutes. So I'm going to hold one up for you in just a second. So they're set. They could go just fine without being flipped over, but it will just help them to bake more evenly. I don't know if you can see. I'm going to hold it up to the camera above. How it's nice and brown on the back, and it's not as brown on the top. So that's why I flip them. And honestly, I'm just going to do it with my hands because it's way faster. And then I get them back in the oven. This tray, which was in the center of my oven, you know, your oven bakes differently all over. These are more brown on the bottom. So back in for 5 minutes. Okay, graham crackers all done. So including the baking time, we have a total of 30 minutes. And you have homemade graham crackers, which taste great, have lots of uses, s'mores, just eating graham crackers. If you have toddlers that you maybe used to feed graham crackers and goldfish and that kind of thing, and you have changed the way you're eating to I don't know, to improve their health or for whatever reason, you need some alternatives. I mean, I have teenagers now, but they were little, and we ate a lot of goldfish and crackers and things back in that day, and when we didn't know any better. And I wish I had known, and I wish I would have had a recipe like this. So yes, these are great for s'mores. Yes, you crunch them up and make a pie like I'm about to show you. But absolutely, they're just a good cracker. And you can send your kids to school with these and they can feel normal because they're eating a graham cracker like everybody else. And they taste really good. So I'm going to let these cool, and then I'm going to crunch a bunch of them up. And I'm going to make a crust for a frozen chocolate pie. So I really hope you enjoyed this video today. If you're brand new, I'm so happy that you're here. I would love it if you would introduce yourself in the comments. I can welcome you officially to our community. Super nice, helpful people, and I'm certainly happy to answer questions and kind of help you navigate your health struggles or your recipe struggles if you will just leave me a nicely asked question in the comments. If you're old here and you haven't seen me for a while, I haven't seen you for a while, and I'm happy to be back with you, and I would love it if you would leave me a comment as well and just say hi. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Just because of the way things are working these days, you need to make sure you subscribe. Even if you subscribed a long time ago, you probably need to subscribe again. Just click that button and it'll tell you if you're still subscribed. And also hit the notification bell so you will be notified when I post a new recipe. And again, this summer I'm going to be posting regularly, so check back next week for that chocolate pie that uses these graham crackers. All right, have a great day, everybody, and I will see you next time.